Hello everyone! Welcome back to this video where I make something random from a list of random stuff. Today it is going to be TV shows, so in our huge collection of DVDs that we largely have, we have 15 different television shows that I could binge watch or create something from. So I've got a number generator on my phone right here, and I'm going to pick a random number from 1 to 15, and that decides what I'm going to make. 3. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. It's The Good Place. So this is The Good Place right here. I remember watching it back when it was actually coming out. I started maybe a couple seasons late. It might have been the second season I started watching it. And then I loved it so much, it's I want to have it on DVD, but I'm going to wait for the show to completely finish so I can just get the whole series at once. So there's no cliffhangers that I have to wait for. And this is just very intelligently written. So the back of the thing says, "Welcome, everything is fine. What happens when we die?" It's a question everyone has asked since the beginning of time. But when Eleanor Shellstrop dies tragically, she finds out that the afterlife is amazing, full of frozen yogurt, soulmates, and wonderful people who have done incredible things with their lives. It is absolutely perfect. The only problem is Eleanor herself. She isn't supposed to be in the good place. In fact, her life decisions wouldn't have gotten her even close. But due to a clerical error, she's been given someone else's reward and now has to struggle with being good in order to make sure her secret isn't discovered. Pretty solid plot, right? And then also, this show is just so visually beautiful. The colors are vibrant. They pull out all the patterns. The character of Tahani wears these beautifully colorful dresses. I would say Eleanor wears, Eleanor's fashion is pretty cool too. You can see Chidi right here. He's wearing a sweater vest. That's already something, if I want to take the easy route, that's something I can go for. But I mean, honestly, going for something tan is not necessarily what I'd want to go for here. They've got some pretty colorful outfits. So I'm going to have to at least rewatch a couple episodes, if not binge watch the whole series, in order to figure out what it is that I want to make. Okay, so I've had a bit of a revelation since I filmed the last part, which is, instead of binge watching the whole series for the television shows bit, I should choose which episode to watch and then try to figure out the knitted pattern from there. So that way I only have to watch one episode, but it's still more of a limiting challenge instead of thinking oh, this part is obvious. It's I know what I need to look for. So The Good Place has 4 seasons, so from there, it wants me to go for season 1. Alright, season 1 has 13 episodes. So to regenerate, it wants me to go for episode 2. Oh. Which is flying. Alright. Honestly, with the way that The Good Place has episodes 1 and 2, I think you have to watch them at the same time. You can't really separate them. At least the way that this is framed. So I have to choose something from flying. And we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I watched the episode of Flying from The Good Place, and it turns out you can't watch Flying without watching the episode before it, which is the whole start to the whole series. So I got to watch 2 different episodes of The Good Place, and then I just kept on watching because it was a good show. But funnily enough, when I thought of The Good Place, when I thought of what outfit I would want to do, or what thing I would want to knit, it turns out the outfit I wanted to knit does make an appearance in flying. So I'm going to insert a picture of the general outfit now. So as you guys see from the picture, everyone's wearing the same like Charlie Brown-esque pattern, which is navy blue instead of black with the zigzags. And I actually have a lot more freedom with this than I thought I did, because as it turned out, I thought like everyone was wearing like Michael, they were wearing like the blazers and the suit. I thought I was going to have to make a whole suit, but in reality, everyone's wearing their normal clothes. It just is covered with this pattern instead. So I can decide something that looks good for me, and then I can go forward from there. Now, if I wanted to, I could combine it with the jumpsuit to really make the tie-in to the flying part of the episode, because the suits make a quick appearance at the end of the episode before. So I'll insert a picture of the jumpsuits now. Again, it's on how much yarn I feel like buying and what I can get a pattern for. But I think I'm going to be making an article of clothing with that particular jumpsuit. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is graph out the zigzags so I have my like knitting pattern to follow. So that way I can like follow the same pattern as it goes up. And then yeah, I'm going to be part of that episode. Which the reason why everyone's wearing like those zigzags is because Eleanor's entered the good place. She's knows that there's a mistake, that there's something wrong, but she's trying to hide it. But things are going wrong with the good place, and she's convinced it's happening with her. So the fact that she woke up and she's wearing like her like a set of sweats and a sweatshirt, and everyone else is wearing this yellow and blue stripe thing, points her out as, oh, she's what's wrong with the neighborhood. So she has to get a new set of clothes in order to still hide her story. And then yeah, it's just like one of those fun outfit choices, you know. It's like so terribly tacky, and as Tahani called it, it's a fashion doll. But it's like you see that and you go like, yeah, that's the good place. Alright, so I started the project, and it is taking quite a while, so I figured that I'd actually show you like some of the process of making it this time, instead of like what I've been doing in previous videos, which is like, oh, here's the idea, and boom, here's the finished object. So, the first thing I did was I got the yarn, and then I figured out the pattern. So I took some graph paper out, and I drew out the zigzag chevron design that I wanted. And then I found a pattern that would accept the chevron design for the most part. I ended up picking out a little kid's pattern. And so far I've extended it to fit me. It looks like it's going to fit me. So far it's just a t-shirt. I'm going to just finish the t-shirt, see if I feel like making anything after. I kind of doubt it. I think making the t-shirt is just going to be enough. But the great thing is, like, the pattern's been turning out lovely. I've been able to get it connect almost seamlessly. And around, so I've just been keeping this in the round. I'm making the general like body part of the t-shirt right now, and then there'll be one part where with the pattern I'll have to make the sleeves. Like the sleeves are attached as part of it. That part I think is going to be a little bit more difficult, but we'll get to that when we come to it. I've been doing an intarsia style, or I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. It's like intarsia, maybe? It's basically when you're knitting with multiple colors at once, but you don't cut the yarn, you drag it across the back. You can kind of see like inside. I've already had to add another ball of the yellow. I haven't had to add another ball of the blue yet, but I think the ball of the blue was probably bigger to start out with. But I have a feeling that moment is going to come at some point during this. I've got several more inches of just this to go because I don't necessarily want a crop top look for this. I just want a regular t-shirt. And the actual like chevrons themselves are turning out nice. You can see it looks kind of bumpy. I don't know if it's my tension that's off on the inside or if it's just the fact that there's nothing in it. Like I can stretch this out and you can see you get more of the design, but I can't stretch it out too much right now because it's on a set of circular knitting needles and I don't want to lose any stitches. But yeah, this has been like a nice pattern just to watch something a little bit more complicated actually. I've mostly been watching movies and I've been able to complete like almost one arrow set through for like every 2-hour movie, which is pretty good progress. I've probably watched like what's it called? Probably watched at least 5 movies making this now, plus an entire documentary series. Ironically, I have not been watching The Good Place because I've already rewatched the whole series since starting this, and I don't really feel the need to rewatch it at the moment. But, yeah, just have more to knit. Okay, so I've reached the point where I've knitted the main part of the shirt as far as I want it to go. And I've found a good stopping point where I know I'll be able to like pick up and try to make the patterns match. And now I'm coming to the part of the pattern where I'm not exactly following the directions anymore. Like, so I've started one of the sleeves. I've kind of picked up the pattern in the same spot, so it'll kind of look uniform, but I've reached the point where the pattern wants me to increase, but I don't know how to do that without ruining the chevron pattern that I currently got going on. I don't want to ruin it. And like part of the beauty of this chevron pattern at the moment is I don't really have to keep track. I can kind of go by the row. Oh, this is where I need to go in order to get this done. So you can see like it's not as big as like a typical t-shirt that I'd be wearing. Like I'm wearing the size t-shirt that I would normally wear now. But I think it's big enough that I can get away without having to do it. And I know it wants me to use double-ended needles, but I used a circular needle. It was too low. Well, not too low. It was too big. And so now I got this little like bendy thing. But this is a old 7-day needles that's used to that kind of abuse. So it means it's going to be kind of annoying to knit with, but it's not going to be terribly long. But I think like since it's for me, I can kind of make it as long as I want and make sure it ends at the right point. But it's like this is a good part of the process that we're in, and I kind of had to do a ratio to make the pattern fit me because I made the original thing bigger than any of the patterns that were available in the pattern, so I kind of had to use math to figure out like where, like how big this should be so it would still look in proportion. And I think adding on sleeves is going to be a very difficult part in this simply because I want to add it on and make it look good. Like the t-shirt pattern that I'm pulling this from is just a simple striped pattern. And so the pattern is being written from the perspective of, oh, you're going to follow the stripes, while instead I'm doing this more complicated pattern. And like part of the pattern is figuring out like, okay, how do I make it mesh together while also continuing the pattern that I want to follow? Anyway, that's where we're at the moment. Alright, so it's time for another update on the shirt. I have attached the sleeves. I still have some ends to weave in with the sleeves, but especially like in the little gaps that formed in the underarm area. And I managed to do so while holding on to the chevron pattern for the majority of the rest of the garment. Like, I was able to attach it in a way that the sleeves go pretty much seamlessly into the main thing, which go me. That's impressive. But now I'm at the part where I'm like kind of bringing the sleeves into the actual main body, and I'm knitting it all at once to form like the top part of the garment. And at this point, I have largely disregarded what the pattern wanted me to do. I just took like the sheer basics of where I'm supposed to increase and decrease, and ignored all the instructions about wrapping yarn, which could come to bite me in the butt later, may not come to bite me in the butt later. Either way, it's a very good place thing to do, at least as far as several characters are concerned. I'm thinking Eleanor and Jason. And in all honesty, I know there's like a huge part of my life where, like, outside of here, I spend a lot of time telling people how things are supposed to be. But I do get some sort of pleasure of not following the rules completely. At least when not following the rules doesn't necessarily lead to any bad consequences. Yeah. Like when I knit. For the most part, or at least, like, if I mess up on this, okay, I just made a shirt that no one will wear. It's not like if I mess up on something at work and then boom, suddenly someone gets hurt. That's a different story entirely. But yeah, the sleeves are attached. That's pretty much why I turned this on, just to tell you that the sleeves are attached. All right, so here is the finished shirt. Now, towards the end, I got to the point where I could no longer really follow the pattern because I changed it too much and I was just lost. I wasn't sure how to do it. So I kind of made up my own neck, which is why the neck here is kind of awkward. It's like it's a little bit closer to here. I would like it to come down a bit more, but I can always just like fold it if I don't mind the strands going underneath. And like the arms are a bit like weird too. But the actual like t-shirt part, like the part that's supposed to be around me, like this part is golden. This part is perfect. It fits like a sleeve. It's just this part up here needs a little bit more work. So I think if I were to do this pattern again, I would actually follow the striped pattern and do the striped pattern instead of the chevron pattern. I mean, it's still like bunching in spots. Where the yarn is like pulling it underneath, although in parts where it's a little bit thicker, like the boobage area, it's actually spread out a little bit more, but like you get to my stomach and then suddenly just sucks right back in again. It's quite form-fitting. It's also quite warm. This might be a t-shirt that's better for like the fall months and not necessarily like the summer months, which we're about to go into. I mean, it's like sweater warm. It's a bit thicker than your typical t-shirt, simply because of all the layers going on underneath and the fact that it's yarn. Yarn in general is thicker than the cotton jersey t-shirt material that is typically used to make t-shirts. And like I healed up the whole, like I sealed up the holes quite nicely here, and like I was able to keep the pattern going, which was like cool. Like I don't really have any other pieces of clothing for this. I still have yarn where I could make more, but I don't really feel like making more at the moment. I feel like moving on to the next thing. But overall, this was a success. And if I want to like cosplay as the Good Place, I can like wear this around, see who recognizes it, because it's an unusual pattern to be wearing around. Like no one really wears this around, although people may call me Charlie Brown. That's okay too. uh so yeah, that was I mean, technically I guess I could block this, but nah, not gonna block it. That was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.